Hello, my name is John, and I'd like to welcome you to the Toro Irrigation experience. Joining me today is Kelly, who just purchased a home like yours with the Toro Intelli-Sense system. Welcome, Kelly.
Thanks, John. I'm really excited to learn what this system can do for my landscaping and my water bill.
Kelly, your home has been equipped with one of the most technologically advanced irrigation control systems available today. The Intelli-Sense system by Toro Irrigation actually has the ability to calculate watering times daily for each area of your landscape. This is based on plant water consumption, local weather conditions, and site-specific information about your property. During the next few minutes, you'll learn how to operate the basic functions of your new Toro Intelli-Sense water management system. It's important that everyone in your home who will use the system watch this video. It will answer most of your questions about how the system works. I'll show you how to avoid costly overwatering and discuss the different parts of the irrigation system along with some of the options. In addition, for more detailed information about operating your system, we've provided a copy of the user's manual with this welcome kit. You may also contact the Toro Customer Service Helpline at 1-800-664-4740. They're available Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific Time. In addition, the 800 number can be found on your irrigation controller's display under Help. Before we talk in detail about the Toro Intelli-Sense system, it's important to understand what components make up the rest of your irrigation system. The part of your system that applies water during operation is the sprinkler head. The first type of sprinkler we'll review is the fixed spray. These sprinklers are used in smaller areas of the landscape where precise control of the water is required. Spray heads are usually spaced between 5 and 15 feet apart, and they have no rotating parts. The next type of sprinkler we'll review is the rotary sprinkler. These heads are used in medium to large areas of the landscape. Rotary sprinklers are usually spaced between 20 and 50 feet apart, and they have either a rotating single stream of water or multiple rotating streams. The last type of irrigation we'll discuss is called drip irrigation or micro. This type of irrigation can apply water to individual plants in the landscape or to entire bed areas. It uses low-volume emitters and is very efficient in its delivery of water. Some components may even be buried below the ground if desired.
I've seen both sprays and rotors operating in my lawn, but they don't all come on at once. Why is that?
Well, Kelly, no matter what type of sprinklers you have to apply the water in your landscape, they're normally divided into various zones for watering purposes. This is because the municipal water supply to your home usually does not have enough capacity to operate the sprinklers all at one time. In addition, they may be divided into zones because of the plant water requirement or the area's exposure to sun, slope, and wind. Properly installed systems have the sprinklers divided into zones by sprinkler type and the type of landscape area. For example, flower beds will be zoned separately from turf areas because they have different water requirements. Spray sprinklers, rotary sprinklers, and drip irrigation apply water at different rates, so they should always be zoned separately. Each zone is controlled by a control valve to turn the sprinklers on and off. In some markets like California, above-ground anti-siphon valves are used instead of inline valves installed in boxes. Regardless of the type of valve that is used on your project, each valve is wired to what's called a station output on the irrigation controller. This is where the valves get their signal to turn on or off when watering.
Okay, I've seen those valve boxes in the lawn now that you mention it. How do I know which station controls each area?
You will usually have a list of each station number and its corresponding landscape zone inside the controller door. If it's not there, you'll learn how to manually turn on each station later to find out for yourself. Now let's talk about the last component of your system, the controller. The irrigation controller is the most visible part of the irrigation system and provides the user interface for operating and adjusting the system. It contains the irrigation schedules made up of active watering days, active start times, number of cycles per day, and watering durations or runtime for each control valve. In addition, the controller may be fitted with a rain or freeze sensor. These sensors will immediately interrupt irrigation schedules due to rainfall or low temperature. The sensor portion is located on the roof edge or gutter normally, and it can be adjusted to activate at a specific rainfall amount.
I think my contractor mentioned that to me, but I'm not sure.
That's okay. We'll check when we go to the controller. Do you know where it is?
Yeah, it's in the garage. Follow me. Just be careful in there. We're still unpacking.
Alright, here it is. Well, by looking at your controller, I can see you have a TIS 612 Intelli-Sense, and it does have a rain sensor attached to it.
Oh, that's good. So I don't have to remember to turn it off when it rains.
That's right. So how are you doing with all the information we've covered so far?
Well, I think I understand the parts of the system and how they all work together, but how do I figure out how long to water each zone? And then how do I tell the controller what to do?
Well, that's a great question, because with the Toro Intelli-Sense Controller, you don't have to. Let's take a look at how the Intelli-Sense control system works to save you water, money, and develop healthier plants in your landscape. When set to the automatic mode, the Intelli-Sense controller uses the WeatherTrack ET Everywhere subscription service. It pays for itself by ensuring that your Intelli-Sense irrigation system puts just the right amount of water in the right place at the right time. The WeatherTrack ET Everywhere service sends an ET value to your controller. The controller then schedules irrigation based on individual landscape needs and local weather conditions, eliminating the need to adjust your irrigation as the weather changes. It's also important to mention that the Intelli-Sense controller cannot compensate for substandard installations where sprinkler spacing and types have not been properly installed or zoned. Poorly designed or installed systems must be renovated so that they apply water evenly to similar areas. This will provide an efficient irrigation delivery system for the Intelli-Sense to manage and control. Be sure any new areas you add to your system are properly installed to the manufacturer's specifications by a licensed contractor.
That's good to know. We're planning to add some sprinklers in our backyard soon. And what's this about ET? I've been hearing a lot about that in the news and on TV. How does the ET Everywhere service work?
Well, first, let's cover ET. ET is a number, measured in inches of water, which represents the amount of water used by two processes in your landscape. First, water evaporates from your landscape areas at different rates depending on conditions like wind, solar radiation, temperature, and relative humidity. Second, your plants use water and it transpires or sweats from the plant leaves at different rates, depending on the type of plant. Those two components, evaporation and transpiration, combined are known as evapotranspiration, which is abbreviated as ET. The ET Everywhere subscription service is provided by WeatherTrack, a Toro partner. Their formulas used to estimate ET take into account all of these variables and calculate an ET value every day based on weather conditions received from more than 14,000 weather stations in the United States. These weather stations send all of their data to the NOAA satellite network, and the values are then communicated to WeatherTrack. Those values are used with a proprietary formula to calculate ET within about 1/2 square mile of your home.
Okay, I get that, but how does that ET number get into my controller?
Well, the ET Everywhere service transmits those values daily from a network of communication satellites high above the Earth. Your controller contains an antenna and receiver that captures the daily ET value. The Intelli-Sense controller then converts the ET value into watering times for each area of your landscape based on the type of sprinklers, site conditions, plant types, and other factors programmed by the contractor. The result is just the right amount of water being applied to each of the different landscape areas, saving water and money while producing healthier plants. No other weather-based irrigation system is proven to reduce water use by up to 59% and irrigation runoff and pollution by up to 71%.
That sounds great, but what if I need to make an adjustment to one of the areas if it's too wet or too dry?
Easy. Each station or zone may be adjusted using a percentage to apply more or less water if required. That's part of fine-tuning your system, and we'll discuss that in a few minutes. Right now, let's take a look at the Intelli-Sense controller, review the different modes of operation, and I'll show you how to make adjustments to the system. We want to be sure your system is optimized to calculate the most efficient watering schedules possible, because that's where your savings come from. Each station in the Intelli-Sense controller is typically set to operate on one of two modes. The first mode is the user-defined mode with no ET. This setting allows the landscaping contractor, or you as the homeowner, to enter station run times, start times, and active days of the week manually. It's normally used when a landscape is newly installed or has been renovated. It's necessary to establish new plant material with more frequent watering while the roots are adapting to their new environment. After the new lawn and plants are established, the grow-in period is over and the controller needs to be adjusted to apply the right amount of water. The grow-in period can take from 30 to 60 days depending on the plant materials.
That makes sense because I always water my newly potted patio plants more often than the existing patio plants.
Exactly, but after a few days or weeks you probably slow down or you'd be overwatering them.
Yes, and overwatering can kill a plant faster than you can believe. Of course, so will underwatering.
Well, Kelly, the same is true with your outdoor landscaping and the flower beds. After the grow-in period, the Intelli-Sense controller needs to be changed from user-defined mode to the fully automated ET mode. This is where the real water savings begin, and the plant material will respond by being healthier because the plants will receive only the water they need. Your contractor should already have entered the necessary site information about each of your landscaped areas. This allows for the calculation of proper watering times and frequency based on the ET value provided by ET Everywhere. Let's see if your Toro Intelli-Sense controller is in automatic mode now, and we'll look at how to change it if it's not. The first thing you'll notice is there are only 3 dials used to make any selection or adjustment on the Intelli-Sense controller. First, in the center of the controller, the main dial, the upper line dial, and the lower line dial. These dials can be turned either direction to move through the menu selections. Let's find out what mode of scheduling you're using by turning the dial to the Review setting. The Review feature provides a convenient at-a-glance overview of the current watering day schedule and watering information for each individual station. The review for Station 1 is displayed first. In the upper right corner, the mode is displayed as User. This is displayed if the user programmed with no ET service program mode is used. This is also known as Schedule U. If Auto is displayed, that means the station is assigned to the fully automated program mode using ET. If U with ET is displayed, that means the program is using user programmed with ET service active, an option not used very often. If another station displays a different program mode, then 2 schedules are in use. There are 3 schedules that stations may be assigned to: Schedule A, Schedule B, or Schedule U. Schedules A and B can both use the automatic program mode.
When would I use more than one schedule?
Well, if you have different watering needs for a new area of your landscape, you might want to set up those stations in the user mode with very specific watering times and days to establish the new plants. Think of a rose garden or vegetable garden, for example. Or maybe you just installed new irrigation and landscaping in the backyard, but the front and sides are already established. The established areas of the landscape can use the automatic ET mode in Schedule A, while the garden or backyard stations can be set to use your grow-in times in Schedule U. Later, you can move the stations in the backyard to Schedule A with the rest of the landscape and select their mode as Auto. You could also move them to Schedule B if you want to assign them a different start time or specific days of the week that differ from Schedule A.
I see, so it's like having 3 controllers in one box. I can use Schedule A for the regular areas of my landscape. I can use the user mode if I want to water a new area the way I want to, instead of letting the controller figure it out. After the plants are established, I can move those new stations to Schedule A with the others, or Schedule B to have their own unique start time and active days.
That's right. Just remember that to receive the full benefit of the Toro Intelli-Sense controller, the automatic mode with ET is the best one to use for all of your irrigation. Most systems will use only one schedule anyway, and it's usually A.
I see that my controller is set to user. How do I change it to automatic using the ET number to start saving water and money?
Well, since your stations are set to user with no ET, let's change each station to automatic so they'll use the ET Everywhere service information to calculate efficient watering schedules. Then we'll look at the watering schedule it creates. To change the program mode for each station, first, turn the main dial to Program. Station 1 is the first station displayed. Turn the upper line dial to Set Program Mode. Now turn the lower line knob to change User No ET into Fully Automated. Notice that the schedule changed from Schedule U to Schedule A when I made the change to Fully Automatic. Now let's go to the next station. To do that, turn the upper line knob back one click to display the station number, and turn the lower line knob one click forward clockwise to show the next station. Turn the upper line dial to set program mode, and then turn the lower line dial 2 clicks to change it to fully automated. And that's it for station 2. Now let's change the next station. Turn the upper line dial back to the station number, the lower line dial forward to the next station. Continue this process for each station, changing each one to fully automated.
That's all there is to switch to automatic? Neat! Can we look at the new schedule now? I want to see what it's going to do.
Sure. To see which stations will water tonight and for how long, just turn the main dial to review. Using the upper line dial, I can now review each station and confirm it's in the auto mode, and see the amount of time each station will water tonight and what days are active. Not all stations may require water every night, so some, like this one, may show no water for today. Sometimes it may be 3 or 4 days before irrigation schedules to run again. That's why the scheduling process makes the Toro Intelli-Sense such a great water management tool. It not only figures out how long to water, it also calculates how often to water.
Okay, I can see the watering times and days in the review screen, but how do I know when the watering will start at night?
What you really mean is in the morning, right? It's important to remember that the earliest start time on the Intelli-Sense controller is 1 minute after midnight, or 12:01 a.m.
Okay, yeah, the time it starts is early in the morning, though in my world I still consider that night.
Well, it's always a good idea to check the start time for the schedule that the stations are all assigned to. In your case, we'll check Schedule A. We'll be checking to see that the start time for Schedule A is when we want it to be, and that the watering day schedule is set to automatic.
How do we do that?
Well, that's simple. First, turn the main dial to the schedule position. The screen should read Set Schedule A. Turn the upper line dial until it reads Set Irrigation Start Hour. What time do you want it to start?
I guess about 2 a.m.
Okay. Turn the lower line dial until it reads 2 a.m. To change the minutes, turn the upper line dial again. Now let's look at the schedule of active days. Turn the upper line dial until the screen reads Select Water Day Schedule A. If the lower line reads Set by Weather Track, then the schedule is set at its most efficient setting. The actual watering days will be displayed in the review screen for each station as they're calculated.
I know you say automatic is best, but can I also tell the controller not to water on Saturdays? Because that's when I usually mow the lawn. Well, I don't actually mow it myself. I have a teenager who does that, but you know what I mean.
I really do know what you mean. I have my controller set for no watering on Saturday, so it doesn't interfere with our outdoor weekend activities. When using the Automated by Weather Track schedule, the controller allows you to choose one day of the week to skip watering.
How do I tell the controller not to water on Saturday?
First, with the main dial in the schedule location, turn the upper line dial until non-water day is displayed. Next, turn the lower line dial to select the day of the week that you want no watering to occur, in your case Saturday. The Intelli-Sense controller will apply enough water on other days to compensate for the water loss on the non-water day. Turn the dial forward once more and the screen reads Schedule Complete. Remember that the earliest start time possible is 12:01 a.m. and all watering occurs the morning of the day in question. In the schedule area of the controller, there are also other options for active days of the week. The first option you have is odd even date watering. Here the system will water only on odd or even numbered calendar days. Interval day watering means the system can be set to water every other day, every third day, and so on. And days of the week uses a one-week calendar, allowing you to turn off or on specific days of the week for each month of the year. At times, municipal water restrictions will mandate a watering schedule, and you will have no choice. That's the best time to use a different active day schedule to comply with those restrictions. More information can be found in the user's guide for your controller.
I saw the watering times and active days, but where is that ET number that I get from WeatherTrack? Can I see it somewhere in the clock?
Absolutely. The ET Everywhere subscription service should have been activated by the contractor when the controller was installed. To view the latest ET information, turn the function dial to ET. The current daily ET is displayed, as well as the last date and time the ET information was received. It should be received daily. If the controller does not receive an ET value for 4 consecutive days, the alert message status, warning, see alert, will be displayed and the controller will beep to alert you. If that happens, contact the Toro Customer Service Helpline. During the service call, you may be asked to review and adjust various controller settings to help diagnose the issue. They'll help you find out if the service was activated and help you with any other questions you might have. The number for the Toro Helpline can be displayed on the controller by dialing to the Help position on the main dial.
I know you mentioned that the ET Everywhere service is a subscription from WeatherTrack. How do I know when it runs out, and how do I renew it? Is that done through Toro?
WeatherTrack has the address and serial number of your controller in their records. You'll be notified before your subscription expires and given ample time to renew the service. Toro does not offer or renew the ET Everywhere subscription. It's also a good idea to call them directly and confirm that they have your current information like name, phone number, etc. They might not have your current information since this is a new home. You can call the 800 number displayed inside of the controller cabinet to update your information with WeatherTrack.
Okay, now that I have changed to automatic using the ET service and I start to notice that my plants are wilting or they're too wet, what do I do then?
Let the controller water for a couple of days and watch the landscaping. If it seems too wet, you can adjust the runtime using a percent adjustment to be less. If the plants are wilting and too dry, then the watering times may need to be adjusted to water longer. Toro recommends adjusting the station watering time slightly and then watching the plants for a week or so to see if it seems to be the right amount. This is called fine-tuning the system. Certain situations require fine-tuning to apply just the right amount of water.
How do I adjust the times? Is it difficult?
Actually, it's very simple. First, turn the function dial to review if you want to see what the current runtime is. I'll turn the function dial to adjust and turn the upper line dial to select station 1. Turn the lower line dial to the right to increase the percentage or left to decrease the percentage. The minutes of runtime may not reflect the adjustment in the review screen until the next watering times are calculated. It may also reduce the runtime minutes but add an additional watering day during the week.
Wow, that's easy enough. But how do I know the amount to adjust?
A small percentage adjustment can result in a significant change in the amount of water being applied. Toro recommends adjusting in 5 or 10% increments. Monitor the condition of the landscape for 7 to 10 days prior to making additional changes. It may take a couple of weeks to get the system tuned perfectly.
Okay, here's one for you, John. What if I want to turn the system off for one day while I do some work in the yard so it's not too wet?
If you wanted to turn the entire system off, just turn the main dial to the off position. Of course, remember to turn it back on the next day to resume watering. But let me ask you this, do you really need to turn off the entire system or just a couple of stations to do the work you want?
Well, on my old controller, the only option I had was to turn everything off. Can I just turn off one station?
Sure can. You can use the station program off mode. This allows a station to be made inactive without altering or changing any of its program information. To do this, turn the main dial to program. Next, turn the upper line dial to set program. Fully automated mode will be selected already. Turn the lower line dial to set program mode off. Just remember to return to that station and put it back in the fully automated mode to resume watering.
To be honest, I'm a little concerned about remembering to turn it back on.
Well, in that case, you could use the rain pause feature. Rain pause will allow you to pause the irrigation system for a specific number of days, from 1 day up to 14. After the number of days you selected pass, the system will start to water again normally with no input from you.
How do I use that feature?
First, turn the function dial to the rain pause position. Next, turn the lower line dial to select the duration from 1 to 14 days. Then turn the main dial back to run. Notice that the rain pause mode is displayed while the function dial is in the run position, so that looking at the clock will help you remember why it's not watering. Another neat thing about using the rain pause is that all remaining controller functions, including manual operations, are available while the controller is in the rain pause mode.
Looks like that might be the best option for me because I won't have to remember to turn it back on.
That's exactly why Toro included that feature. Most people don't remember the controller is off until they see brown grass. Sometimes it's too late.
After having the system off, how do I manually turn on the system if I want to water those areas?
It depends on whether you want to water all stations manually or just a few. You really have both options. To water a few specific stations manually, turn the function dial to manual. Turn the lower line dial to specific stations. Then turn the upper line dial to select the first station number. Using the lower line dial, select a temporary cycle time from 1 to 99 minutes. The selected station will start immediately. You can see it says Now On in the display. Repeat this process for other stations. They can all have different cycle times. Stations will run in numeric sequence, and as one station finishes, the next station will begin. To stop a watering station and go to the next, turn the lower line dial to select 0 minutes of operation. To view current irrigation status, return the dial to the run position. The active station can be viewed in the upper right-hand corner next to the letter M. To stop all watering, turn the main dial to off. Wait for the display irrigation is turned off, then return the dial to run.
What if I want to water everything in my yard manually?
Well, you could use the specific stations method we just saw and enter unique run times for each station. Or you can use the Water All feature if you'd like to water all stations for the same amount of time. To water all stations manually for the same time, turn the function dial to manual. Turn the lower line dial to read all stations. Turn the upper line dial to select minutes, and then use the lower line dial to select a temporary cycle time from 1 to 99 minutes. The controller will run all stations for the time shown.
One thing does concern me, John.
And what's that?
You mentioned water restrictions a few minutes ago, and this just occurred to me. The city has a new ordinance that fines you for watering between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. How do I know the controller won't water during that time? I hear those fines can be pretty steep.
Toro thought of that already. To make sure the Intelli-Sense never waters after 10 a.m., you can create something called a water window. The water window is the amount of time between the start time and the ending time of the irrigation. You can define the ending time of the irrigation cycle as well as the start, so the Intelli-Sense never waters past that time, 10 a.m. in your case.
Wow, I'm beginning to see why they call it a smart controller. How do I set the water window time if there is not one already?
First, turn the main dial to schedule. Then turn the upper line dial to set window hour. The water window duration is set for 23 hours. In your case, we start at 2 a.m., so a window of 8 hours will stop at 10 a.m. Turn the lower line dial to select 8 hours. Now you can be certain not to exceed the watering restriction of 10 a.m.
What happens if it needs to water more than 7 hours in the heat of the summer? Will it underwater or miss any areas?
Well, first, you'll get a water day alert beeping to let you know that the water window is not large enough to accommodate the required schedule.
What do I do then?
Well, you have a few options. You could change your start time from 2 a.m. to 12:01 a.m. so that it starts earlier. And then you could change the water window hours from 8 to 10. Then you could review the water window to see if it fits. That would give you almost 10 hours of water window, which is probably enough.
What if it still doesn't fit?
The Intelli-Sense has a feature called High ET Irrigation Start just for that situation. It allows you to enter a second start time, say 8 p.m., for the controller to apply the remaining water. That way you avoid watering during the restricted time during the day, but the controller can apply the water in the evening before the next irrigation day begins.
How do I set that up?
First turn the main dial to schedule, then turn the upper line dial until you see Set High ET Start. You said 8 p.m. is the earliest you can water at night, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Turn the lower line dial to set the start hour at 8 p.m. That sets the High ET start time for 8 o'clock. Then turn the main dial back to run.
It looks like Toro thought of just about everything in this controller. What about power outages? If I lose power, will that cause the controller to run at the wrong time? And do I have to re-enter all of this stuff? Do I have to change the battery?
The Intelli-Sense stores all of its information internally, so backup batteries aren't required. If power is lost, the controller display will be blank and no irrigation can occur. Once power is restored, all of the information will return. It's a good idea to check the time and date though. The correct time and date are required to ensure a successful ET download every day. If the time or date is incorrect, ET information will not download properly.
What if it misses a download? Does it not water?
The Intelli-Sense will continue to use the schedules calculated at the last download if that happens. After 4 days, you would see and hear a communication alert, and you can call WeatherTrack to check the communication.
Earlier, you mentioned an alert message for the water window thing. Are there other alerts I should know about?
Yes, the alert feature can help you diagnose many issues with your system, both in the controller and in the field. Some of the other alert status warnings are water window status, communication status, day status, and electrical status. If you see one of the alert messages, or hear the alert beep tone, turn the main dial to the alert position. Contact your local contractor or the Toro customer service helpline.
Well, I can really see how this can save me water and keep my landscape healthy. It certainly is a smart controller to be able to do all of those things.
Well, before I leave, are there any other questions you have?
Just one. I know I have the video and manual to help me remember the things we discussed, but let's say I have a question or need help with something later. Who do I call?
Well, you have several ways of getting help. Your first resource is your local contractor. They installed your system and are probably more aware of the technical aspects of your particular system than anyone else. If you just need help remembering how to do something with the controller, you're welcome to call the Toro customer service helpline at 1-800-664-4740. It's been a pleasure meeting you, and I hope you enjoy your new Toro Intelli-Sense irrigation system as it helps you water smart.
Thanks for all of your help, John. I really appreciate it.